What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with the economic calendar going into tomorrow, what the technicals are suggesting for all these different stocks out there, what the news is saying about Tesla, what you should be watching for as we approach tomorrow and beyond. But before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, for Tesla, we had a very, very interesting day. Tesla got this very, very nice pump after some bullish news came out involving Elon Musk, which I talked about, how Elon Musk is trying to incentivize more Tesla buyers to end up buying FSD by giving them a free trial. So this led to this nice little push up here, not to mention an increase in Tesla's Chinese deliveries. But then as time went on, Tesla started to decline. This thing ended up just losing almost the entire move. And from a technical standpoint, I do want to note that we are starting to look like we might turn a little bit lower going into tomorrow. So I will break down more details about this. I will be breaking down the charts in just a couple of minutes. I first want to talk about some data and news before I break them down. So what's happening for tomorrow? What's going on with the data? Tomorrow is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. Now, 1 hour after the market ends up opening, we have some crude oil data coming out in terms of imports. It's all very, very minor data, might not affect the market that much. But then at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 17-week and 2-year note auctions all basically coming out. And then after that, we have the 7-year notes auction coming out at 1 p.m. It's all very, very minor. Won't cause the market to just explode or tank too hard. It might cause some volatility here and there. But that's it for tomorrow. It's a very, very minor data day. And we'll have to see how the market ends up reacting despite that. Now, in terms of market volatility, right now the VIX is well below the 50 daily moving average. We're going to be watching to see if the VIX could try to get back above it, especially for the next couple of trading days. If we end up breaking above this, this could be the sign that the market's going to turn. So just be very careful with that. The puts and call option positioning is still at greed. It is starting to turn a bit as we're seeing a little change. But if this uptrend maintains, we start seeing more puts being bought and this ratio starts going up past zero point 0.8, this is going to be a bearish signal. So just be a little bit careful. The market is starting to shift just a little bit. Besides that, I'm not really seeing anything else that's too significant. The market was extremely greedy. Now we're just in the middle of greed, but SPY is just approaching some critical support. We'll be talking about that as well, how this could end up shifting this. For SPY, do not forget that for today, we actually saw max pain at 519 and SPY closed just under that. And then for tomorrow, max pain's at 520, but that doesn't really guarantee anything for now. And going into Thursday, it's going to be the last trading day of the week because the market's going to be closed on Good Friday. For Thursday, we have a lot of puts expiring. I did notice some calls being opened. So now we have over or very close to 500,000 calls. It used to be under 400,000. Now it's close to 500,000. And we have over 2 million puts expiring. It's the same as before. The ratio is going down to 4.41. With more people buying calls, this is making me wonder, will the market makers try to favor us going closer to max pain instead? Or are they going to play other tricks? Max pain for Thursday is at 5:15 as of right now. Thursday is going to be the last trading day of the week, by the way. Anyways, for Tesla, we're seeing some very, very interesting points being made. There's been a lot of talk about Tesla's first quarter delivery report and how it could shock some investors. And many people out there from different analysts are coming out from Bernstein, and they're saying that Tesla may have some downside coming. They've downgraded their Tesla price target from 150, excuse me, 150 down to about 120 a share. And they're also saying that Tesla could have even more downside coming. Another 33% downside is a real possibility in their opinions. So with that coming out, that's a little bit negative news for Tesla. We did have some good news on the other hand, because when you look at Tesla's Chinese deliveries, well, it's based off insurance registrations. They actually reached over 13,200. That's up quite a bit between March 18th and the 24th. So with them actually increasing by about 7.32%, and looking at the charts so far, they're not looking too bad. I went over these charts in my morning video. If you guys want more data, just look at my morning video about the Chinese sales increase. So you can see more charts on how the data is looking. A slight increase for the week, but not the strongest of data at the same time. It's only a 7% increase, but that was still a decent piece of news. I would have hoped we got closer to like 18,000, 20,000 like we've seen in previous weeks. So we're still a little bit low on China. Demand is still not the strongest, but there was a slight increase from the previous week. On top of this, there's been a lot of talk about Kathy Wood. I did make a video about this. She has been buying more Tesla shares. Even yesterday, reports are showing she bought about $28 million worth of them for her ARK Invest fund. That is very important news because she has a very, very interesting view. But I also want to give you guys like a warning about this because just because Kathy Wood is buying, it does not necessarily mean that you have to copy her in every way, shape, and form. She has a much larger portfolio than most people. So when she starts buying, when she starts making moves, that doesn't mean that you have to copy her exactly because your strategies may have to be very different depending on your portfolio size. She could afford to buy it at dollar cost average on Tesla slowly, slowly, slowly every single month. People may not always be able to afford that, and she could have different reasons behind it based off the information she has. So don't I'm going to say, like, I wouldn't necessarily copy everything she does, but I just wanted to at least call out how her view is still the same on Tesla for the long term. She is still a big bull for the long term nonetheless. All right, anyways, Bernstein has just announced that they downgraded Tesla, saying it's going to underperform compared to the market. I also want to call out the price price ratio trying to kind of pop a little bit, still at this low range right here, so it's not the best of signs. On top of this, when it comes to seasonality, right now you guys can see that when it comes to Wednesdays, we're only green about 48% of the time on Tesla. It's not one of the strongest days of the week. We tend to see more volatility at 10 a.m. and also at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on top of this, I just want to mention that that is it in terms of other things. I also want to call out that for volume, we have about 113 million in volume. This is well above average volume. But don't forget that despite how Tesla ended up closing, the overall market structure is still not the strongest once you look at the chart. So, looking at Tesla, what do we see for the chart right now? I'm going to just talk about some technicals. Tesla's technicals are not looking the best for the bulls. And here's the reason why. When you look at the chart, we got this nice pop and then drop like move. Tesla's been coming down. But if I transition to the daily time frame, you're going to notice something very interesting. Right here on the daily, we have this very, very interesting looking shift in the price action. The daily is looking a little bit weak right now. We got this big wick that formed, and this could be a rejection candlestick, especially because we ended up closing below where we ended up opening since we gapped up. There's also this big gap to fill at 172. So, depending on what Tesla tries to do, when you see moves like this, let me see if there's another like historical example of this. So one example would be, right here, we sort of did that, maybe not exactly the same. I'm not seeing some good examples, at least for the much near term, but there should be examples like in the past. But my point is, basically, this is a bearish looking daily candlestick. It looks like Tesla got this big rejection, and it's going to depend a lot on the news. But if Tesla continues to sink and we end up losing some key support at 177.5, especially going into tomorrow, and Tesla showing signs of contraction, there can be a move all the way down to fill the gap within the next couple of days. Before Tesla's deliveries come out, we could see Tesla fall all the way down to 172 to fill this daily gap right here. If we lose 177, of course, do not forget that range. The 4-hour time frame is also looking a little bit weaker on the chart. If I actually pull it up like this, you can see that we're starting to show some signs of contraction, and we have this key support at this white trend line to be watching for. So we'll have to see if Tesla ends up coming back down here. We could get a retest, and this would actually aligns very closely with where this gap happens to be. So looking at the hourly time frame on Tesla, what do I see for it? Here's my simple answer. We have key support on Tesla at this green line. This is the 20 EMA at 177.64. If we lose this support at 177, a bigger drop could be coming all the way down to like 175. And then we also have the gap to fill at 172. There's the gap starts from the pre-market at 173.8, but the daily gap is at 172. So either way, there are gaps to fill to the downside, and this chart is starting to turn a bit. So watch and see. If we lose 177.5, I think we're going to be coming all the way down to fill this gap. I think Tesla's going to fall to the lower 170s. So there's a high probability of that happening. If we manage to somehow bounce off of this and we break past 180 thanks to bullish news, we could be looking for a move back up to 182.5, but then just be careful because we rejected off that anyways. My prediction is we might try to see a little pop when we open because Tesla loves to pop in the mornings, and it might just come right back down, and we might retest the 20 EMA. And if we lose this, a bigger drop could be coming all the way down to fill this gap. The daily is showing some weakness. The 4-hour is showing weakness. Today's price action showed some weakness. There is a good chance it might actually drop lower. That is what technicals do favor for tomorrow. For SPY is looking a little bit weaker. Now, SPY was very tricky today. If you guys look at the price action, since we opened, it was just back and forth price action for about 5 hours, back and forth between 520 and 521, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all day. Then at the very end, they rug pulled the markets and made SPY drop all the way down to 518. It was very, very deceptive, very, very tricky price action, very despicable of these market makers trying to get the market back down towards max pain. So this is all part of their game, and they did this to manipulate the way the market has been moving. One thing I called out on SPY was when you look at the charts, okay, we actually bounced off this big white line, excuse me, this big white line right here. We bounced off this once, twice, many, many times. So going into tomorrow, we're going to be testing that most likely, and we're going to be watching to see if we get a bounce. SPY is not officially turned extremely bearish. We had a bearish move at the end of the day, but we have to watch for confirmation. So what this means is when looking at SPY, I recommend just watching this white trend line right here. It's going to be our key support. So when we open tomorrow, if we do come down to this like 518 area, watch this white trend line, however long it takes. If we lose the trend line, we could be sinking all the way down to about 517.5. If not, 515. We could be coming all the way down to 515 if we end up losing this white trend line. If we hold the white trend line, we could see an attempt to rebound first before we continue anyways. But look for a test tomorrow at the 518 area. Do we end up losing 518, start sinking closer to 515, or do we get a bounce first? I'll be watching for that tomorrow. It's going to be a very, very critical test. SPY is in critical territory. Now, SPY is still waiting for this big test, but the QQQ, on the other hand, is showing some weakness because we're back within the realm of this bull flag like setup. And the problem is we have resistance now right over here at this 444 area, also at 446. For support, watch 442. If we lose that, a bigger drop is coming. Like the QQQ, let me just call out that as of right now, the trend on SPY and the QQQ is bearish because we have this high at 524. We came down, established a lower high at 522, so we're starting to turn a bit more bearish if we continue to sink. But watch this test on SPY just to be safe. Anyways, going back to the QQQ, it's something very similar. So when you look at the QQQ, we have this high right here at almost 450. We came down, we tried to rebound, and then we got this retest of 447. Now we had an inverse head and shoulders like structure on the QQQ, but now, excuse me, now we're starting to show some weakness and it may not hold up as well. And we established a lower high right here. So if we break this low right here at 442, a bigger drop is going to be coming. That's going to be our key support. My guts tells me we might try to grab liquidity and retest like 444 to 445 again, and then make our way down lower. There's a very good chance it might kind of pop a little bit, then drop. And there's going to be a test of 442 most likely on the QQQ within 2 days. We'll have to see if the QQQ bounces or not. So just be very, very careful. But watch and see this very carefully because you have to be open-minded for this. What else is not so good is the fact that Nvda had this white trend line as support, and we actually rejected off of this. So zooming into the charts, we're looking a little bit more bearish on the 4-hour, but we need a follow-through move just for confirmation. This is the chart on Nvda. As you guys can see, this thing is showing a little bit of weakness. We have resistance at 930. If we break past this, watch 938 and then 944. If we lose 920, that's going to be our key support. A bigger drop is coming to 908 most likely. This chart looks bearish. It looks like it might come down to 908 because we lost this critical white trend line of support, and we're seeing a big bar to the downside, leading to more selling pressure. Look for a pop or drop to about 920. If we lose that, a bigger drop is coming. So just be very, very careful. On Apple's on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to be watching the support at 169. If we lose this, a bigger drop is coming towards 168 or below that. Resistance watch 170, then 170.9, and eventually 171.5, and etc. With this downtrend coming to Apple, I think there's a risk of this dropping even lower. And I think that this could continue to sink to much lower levels. So just be a little bit careful. We're downtrending on Apple. I know there's a slight bullish divergence developing, but there's no sign of this thing breaking 172.5 to turn bullish. We have to see this thing break 172.5 to turn bullish. We haven't done it yet. As of right now, we're downtrending, so the trend is still a bit more bearish on Apple until we break 172.5. Because it's on this downtrend, there is a risk of this dropping lower towards 169 to 168 again. So just be very, very careful. Anyways, guys, that is it for the main 5 I typically go over. As a recap, Apple is showing some weakness. Nvidia also lost the key support, so it's showing some weakness. SPY is showing a little bit of weakness, but has a big test coming. The QQQ is showing a little bit of weakness to it. It's also going to be testing 442 to see if we bounce or not. And finally, for Tesla, we're seeing some weakness on the chart as well. Don't forget about this. Be very careful with it. If we lose this key support right here at 177.6, a bigger drop is going to be coming to fill this gap. We could pop and drop first or just drop from here. So watch for the news. The news will affect Tesla as well, but the technicals do look a little bit weaker. Now I'm going to be going through a speed run by going through some other technicals for the rest of the tickers I typically go over. So what are we seeing for Supermicro? We have a bit of an uptrend right here, but watch this resistance at about 1070, and we have support currently at 1013. I think it's going to be testing 1013. We'll see if it bounces back up or if it loses 1013. If we lose that, a bigger drop is going to be coming all the way down into like the 950 area. So watch for that very, very carefully. For Rivian is on a bit of a downtrend. You can see there's a head and shoulders like structure. There's a left shoulder here. There's a head up here. And there's a right shoulder forming. If we kind of pop and drop or drop from here, I could be looking for a move into the lower tens. So watch for that very carefully. On SoFi, in my opinion, is showing some weakness. We got a double top leg formation. If we lose support at 7.18, we're going to be looking for a move all the way down to about 7 flats at least, if not lower. There's a possible inverse head and shoulders, but for this to play out, we have to break 7.5. So if we break 7.5, we're bullish. If we lose the support at 7.2, we're going to be turning bearish. There is a risk of a double top forming here, so I could see this actually popping and dropping. So I do see some risk of downsides, so just be careful. AMD is barely holding 177 at the 200 EMA. If we bounce off this, we have to try to break 185 to turn bullish. If we lose 177, we turn bearish. The chart is showing some weakness right now, so just be careful at 177. AMD is just barely trading sideways, so I'd rather just wait and see. But there is weakness on the chart. ARM is looking kind of weak. Look for a little pop and drop and a move all the way down to about this imbalance at 124. It looks a bit more bearish to me. For Coinbase, we're on a bit of an uptrend. We're barely at support at 264. If we lose 264, a bigger drop is going to be coming to fill this gap at 255 and lower levels like that to test the 50 EMA at like 250. If we do bounce off this at 263, we're going to be looking for an imbalance fill at 278. So the chart looks a bit more bearish to me. Coinbase also happens to have a bearish divergence. So it looks like it might actually sink to about 255 and then maybe bounce, but watch and see from there. Amazon is showing some weakness, but we're not officially breaking down yet because we have a very, very tight resistance at 180. Every time we hit 180, this thing has been rejecting. I'm going to be watching the 20 EMA at 178. If we lose this, I'm going to be looking for 177.2 and then lower levels. I'm seeing some weakness on Amazon, so we'll have to see how it goes. For Meta, we're actually looking a little bit more bearish on Meta. So Meta is going to likely test 494, a critical level it loves to, hover around. If we lose that, we're going to be watching 490, then eventually 485. I do see a risk of downside after this big sell-off. So look for a little pop and drop or a drop like move. For Microsoft, looking a little bit more bearish, but watch 420.5. We're going to likely test that. If we lose that, a bigger drop is coming to 415. If we hold this, we could try to rebound, but watch for a test of 420. I want to note that we look pretty bearish right now on the 4-hour, so there's a very good chance it might not hold 420 and just start sinking to 415. Microsoft does look a bit more bearish in my opinion. With that being said, the VIX is still kind of flat. It's showing some strength, but hasn't really broken past the 50 EMA yet. Hasn't broken past 14, so it's still kind of stagnant. And the dollar of all things is showing a little bit of strength. It's still trying to bounce right now. We're going to be watching to see if we can try to get back above 104.5. If it does break that, it could push higher. And that could be bearish for the markets. If it fails to do so, then it is what it is. So we'll just wait and see. With that being said, guys, for Tesla, make sure you watch your bullish and bearish cases. Just know that when we look at the hourly time frame, we have a key support coming up. Watch 177.6 is support on Tesla. If we lose this, a bigger drop is going to be coming. If we hold this, it could kind of like rebound a bit. I think it's going to likely pop and drop and then test that. And if we get that break of 177.6, that's not only a historical support, but also where the 20 EMA is. Then a bigger drop is going to be coming to Tesla. And we could be looking for that gap fill down to 172. My predictions are not always going to be correct for Tesla because it's heavily dependent on the news as well. So we'll see what the news gives us. Make sure you're prepared for that and make sure you do what's necessary for your own portfolios. I'm just showing you guys that technicals right now on Tesla look a bit weaker, looking at the daily and other factors like that. So keep this in the back of your mind. Do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected, and I'll see you guys very, very soon in just many hours. Not many hours, like maybe like a half a day from now. Basically, tomorrow morning during the pre-market, I'll be back for another update video. All right, guys, all jokes aside, have a great day. Take care. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning during the pre-market. Tesla to the moon because the long term is still very bright. Despite this short-term downside, I'm still a big Tesla bull for the super long term for years to come, but just be prepared for some volatility that's coming. All right, thanks again, and peace out.